Hey, what's going on guys? In this video, I want to focus on an update to LS180 Database Foundations. Now, this is the first database course in Launch School's JavaScript curriculum. Basically, you're going to learn everything about the syntax of the language and how to create and alter tables and databases using SQL. Now, really quick, I'm about 3/4 the way through the course, and I'm just going to outline what I've been through so far and what you can expect in this course. If you're new to this series of videos, you can go back and watch my Launch School videos starting from the very first course I took in the program. So let's get into it. First, Intro to Databases focuses on learning SQL and the syntax and how to use SQL from the command line. It goes on to talk about creating and altering databases and tables, and then the section gives you a bunch of different exercises, starting off with very simple exercises and then getting into more complicated calculations, including table joins and more complex things you can do with SQL. The sections that I've been through so far, 3 of the 4 sections in this Intro to Databases course are Intro to the course, Schema, Data, and SQL, and Relational Data and Joins, which gets into some of those more complex calculations I mentioned before. So the first part, Intro to the course, as you might have imagined, this goes through an introduction to everything in SQL, but focuses on the syntax of the language. For this portion of the course, it focuses on Launch School's curriculum, the book that they created, their very own Intro to SQL book, which is part of their open bookshelf, which is like an open curriculum of sub-courses they've created to introduce people to a whole host of topics, including things like using the command line, using Git, regex, using SQL, all these little subtopics that you need to know to be a modern software engineer. They have created books on each of those. So for this first section, they really focus on their SQL book, which just introduces you to all the basic syntax and gives you a few exercises to go through. The next part, Schema, Data, and SQL, focuses on the difference between DDL, DML, and DCL, which are the 3 main components of the SQL programming language. They then get into some of the more complex functions like aggregate functions, group by functions, all the specifics of different data types, and then some of the constraints that you're going to be working with in your tables. They also get into the mechanisms behind how SQL queries are executed in the language, and then it finishes off with a set of practical exercises as well as a quiz. So the last part that I've gone through so far, this is the 3rd in 4 sections of this course, is the Relational Data and Joins. Now, this section of the course focuses on some of these more complex calculations that join 2 data sets together, whether that's 2 or more tables, creating virtual tables out of those tables, and it goes over all the main types of joins and gives you a host of practical exercises for what types of data you'd want to create using those joins. Again, in addition to the practical exercises that are part of the material, there's also a separate programming exercises section, just like we had in earlier parts of the course, like the really JavaScript heavy sections of the course. So you're going back and forth between the main curriculum and the practical exercises that are part of the curriculum, and then the problem sets that are separate from the curriculum, covering, they'll give you about 10 problems for each of the subtopics within this course. So I really like this. It was a return to the older style of curriculum from some of the past lessons. It makes it really structured the way you're going through this, and it's allowed me to get through this section much more quickly. A lot of it has to do with just the fact that there's very bite-sized chunks of information you're expected to learn and then execute on in these problem sets. There's not a big applied problem in this section of the course. So far, welcome return to what I've been doing before. For the last section of the course, optimizing SQL queries, I imagine there will be many more practical exercises in that section, and I'll go over those in the wrap-up video that I do for this entire section of the Launch School curriculum. So after I go through and I take the examination for this portion of the curriculum, I'll probably do a video on how I study for that in this section, and then go and talk about the last section of this course, what I felt about the problem practice exercises in this section, how I felt overall about the course. So anyway, that's my update. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if there's any sections you want me to get into more in the comments. If you haven't already, if you like this video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe so you're notified anytime that I come out with a video on Launch School or any of the other topics on this channel. So as always, thank you guys for watching.